Put on a suit. Drink water. Don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Okay.
Now you're more fluent.
He got free!
Up, Bears.
So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
You, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world, what's going on tonight? Y'all know what it is. The headline might be a little bit tricky because celebrities getting into the Hall of Fame, that is not exactly what I wanted to talk about. That's not what I'm here to talk about tonight. No, I am not. I'm not here to talk about celebrities getting into the Hall of Fame. I'm actually thinking I actually want to talk about something else. Hey, Moni, how are you? What time is it where you are? It's morning there. If it's morning there, it's the evening here. It's 7 o'clock here, so you must be ahead of me. What time is it there? I want to know. The headline kind of threw me off, but I can get back into it. All right, let's do it, guys. So, where were we? We were talking about what's this upcoming season for Joel Embiid about. Joel Embiid, says that he's probably done playing back-to-backs. I want to make sure that I get this down so there's no misunderstanding about, because I want to get this on the screen, right? Yeah, I want to get this on the screen so you can see this exactly what he said, right? I definitely want to get this on the screen so you can get exactly what he said, because if I'm being honest with you, right? If I'm being honest with you, right? If I'm being honest with you, this is pretty incredible, right? This is pretty incredible. So Joel Embiid says Joel Embiid doesn't play back-to-backs. Joel Embiid doesn't plan to play back-to-backs for the rest of his career. If I had to guess, I would probably never play back-to-backs for the rest of my career. I'm going to say that one more time for the people in the cheap seats. Joel Embiid said, quote, "If I had to guess, I would probably never play back-to-backs in my career." So I personally only think Joel Embiid is going to play at this level. I only think he's going to play at this level for another 3 years. I don't think he's going to hold up. I don't think he's going to play at this level any longer than 3 more years. But with that being said, within the next 3 years, what you guys want me to do, right? Within the next 3 years, if he ends up winning the NBA championship, averaging 60 games, right? That means that if he ends up winning the NBA championship, playing 55, 60 games, 50 games, 55 games, and he wins the NBA championship, you want me to talk about this guy like I talk about Shaq, like I talk about Olajuwon, like I talk about Chamberlain, like I talk about Jabbar. You want me to talk about him like that. And I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. And the reason why I'm not going to do that is because that other stuff matters. What is the mark of being a great player? Like when you think about greatness, what's the first thing that you think about when you think about, like what's the first thing you think about when you think about greatness? Because the first thing that I think about when I think about greatness, consistency. Like, how often are you doing it? Forget not just how well are you doing it, how often are you doing it? Because that's the mark of greatness. Showing up every day and doing it. You know that Olajuwon in his career, 8 years into his career, which is where Joel Embiid is right now, 8 seasons, 8 of them. Olajuwon's got 2,500 more games than him. Not 20, I'm sorry, 2,500 more rebounds than him. 161 more games. That's 2 NBA seasons. 2. 2,500 more rebounds than him. 2,500 more. 161 more games than him. Like, this stuff matters, man. How much you play. What you did when you played. Olajuwon's got almost 1,500 more points. Yes, it is, Andre. Yes, it is. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that it's not fair. You know why you're going to tell me that it's not fair? You're going to tell me it's not fair because this guy was injured. So you know what? That's fine if you're injured. I don't have an issue with that. But I can't talk about you like I talk about the rest of these guys. And I won't. I won't do that. I cannot do that. That's not fair to those guys who showed up to work, who came to work and did their jobs. And you want me to talk about you like these dudes? No, I'm not going to do that. I will not. Absolutely not will I not do that. I got a super chat from Dubs, Bestie. He said, chill, any advice on how to move on from a girl? Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to recognize what role you played in it. What role did you play in you guys splitting up? That's the first thing that you got to figure out. All right. Where did I go wrong? Because even though a lot of it isn't your fault, you have some culpability in it on some level. So you recognize, all right, where did I go wrong here? And in addition to where I went wrong, all right, how can I fix this in the future? Was I not loving enough? Was I not, did I not pay enough attention to her? Maybe I could have done more of that. All right, so in the future, I will do that. So recognize it, embrace it, and then move on. 100% embrace it and move on. So, and Dubs Bestie has another super chat. He says, greatness is living up to the pressure. Well, I don't know if greatness is living up to the pressure. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. No, I'm not, because that pressure is what everybody else puts on you. I don't concern myself that much with the pressure of everybody else. The pressure I put on myself is way more than what you guys put on me. And Andre says, so if we're going to do that, then Kawhi's 2019 championship shouldn't be held to a higher regard because he played 60 games. Did I say anything about his championship being held in a higher regard, Andre? I didn't say a word about that. You know what I'm not doing, though? I can't talk about Kawhi Leonard like I talk about Bird. I can't talk about Kawhi Leonard like I talk about James. I can't talk about Kawhi Leonard like I talk about Scottie Pippen. I can't talk about him like that. And the reason why I can't talk about him like that is because the other stuff that they did, that stuff matters. The fact that you won the NBA championship, that matters. I'm going to argue that. And if Joel Embiid over the next 3 years was to win an NBA championship, I won't argue that neither. I'll accept the fact that he was awesome. Yes, he won a championship. But I can't talk about him like I talk about Olajuwon. I can't talk about him like I talk about Shaq. I can't talk about him like I talk about Jabbar. No. Because the other stuff matters. And consistency, when you're great, being consistent is a part of being great. That matters. That 100% matters. Now, am I taking away from what Kawhi Leonard did in 2019? No. Hell no. They won the NBA championship. I won't argue that. And he was awesome in doing that. He was the best player in the playoffs. Yes, he was. I can't talk about him like I talk about Bird, though. I can't. I can't talk about him like I talk about James. Nope. I can't talk about him like I talk about Scottie Pippen. Nope. Because consistency matters. So when I got a guy in Joel Embiid who I am on record, this isn't me saying that Joel Embiid is a good player. No, I'm on record. Yeah, I'm on record saying I think he's good enough to take his team to the NBA championship. I think he's that good. I just think he's made of glass. That's it more than anything. I think he's made of glass. And if he's going to be a champion one day, because that's essentially what you're doing when you're sitting him out, right? When you're sitting him out and he's only playing, I don't know, 55 games. He's not playing in back-to-backs. He's not playing in back-to-backs. If I'm gonna talk about Joel Embiid amongst the all-time greats, I gotta look at what the all-time greats did. Not just from a numbers standpoint, not just from an eye test, collectively. What did you do overall? And if I can, and if I'm looking at what Joel Embiid did, and the fact that in year 8 in his career, Hakeem Olajuwon has played 161 more games than him in year 8. That's 2 NBA seasons. 2 of them. The fact that Shaq in year 8 has over 2,200 more rebounds than Joel Embiid in his career in year 8 at this point. Like, that matters because the other stuff that you did, you being consistent, you playing. The fact that you played 50 games and won the NBA championship, I can't sit there and go, I can't sit here and say, well, you did it when it mattered. It matters in January. It matters in December. Yes, even though a team doesn't win the NBA championship in January, but I'll tell you what they do. They set themselves up for that during that time. So because of that, I have to. I'm not saying that I should. I'm saying I have to talk about him like I talk about if he were to win. I got to talk about him like I talk about guys who did what he did. You didn't do this. Shaq is a member of the 20,000 point, 10,000 rebound club. I don't think Joel Embiid's going to hold up that long to be a member of that. I don't think so. I think Olajuwon's got almost 1,500 more points than Joel Embiid does at this time. I think Shaq's got 1,200 more points after year 8 than Joel Embiid. This kind of stuff matters because it's part of being consistent when you're talking about being great. That stuff matters. To a lot of people who only care about championships, I think that that's a shallow way of looking at things. Because if you only care about championships, that means you don't care about what it took to get there. And because you don't care about what it took to get there, you shortchanging the work. You only showing up on payday. And I'm not doing that. I will not do that. No. I care about what you did Monday to Thursday. I don't care about what you just did on payday. No. I care about what you did throughout the course of the week. I don't just care about what you did on payday. No, because if I did that, then there's no reason to work these other 4 days. Why don't we just have the one day, which is payday? And what can you do on that day? And if you show up on payday, then you get paid. Even though every day is payday. Every day. Jabbar did it. These are the shoes that you walking in. These are the shoes that Shaq had to walk in. These are the shoes that Chamberlain walked in. These are the shoes that Russell walked in. These are the shoes that Olajuwon walked in. We're talking about being an all-time great big. These are the shoes that Ewing walked in. When you're talking about being an all-time great. I mean, Joker isn't the most athletic guy, but I tell you what, one thing the Joker does do, Joker plays. Joker will show up to work. And Joker doesn't show up to work every so often. No, he does not. No, Joker does not. Joker shows up to work. And Joker shows up to work frequently and often. And he does his job. Joker 100% does his job. Last year, he only missed 2 games. I'm sorry, 3 games. That was it. That was it. Joker does not have a season playing less than 65 games. He doesn't. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about guys being all-time great. Joker, his first season playing in the 15-16 season, 80 games, 73 games, 75 games, 80 games, 73 games. And that was in the lockout season because he was on his way to playing 80 games that year. In 21, it was a 72-game season. He played all the games. In 22, in 82 games, he played 74 of those games. In 23, the year they won the NBA championship, 69 games. They was at the top of the Western Conference. Last year, he missed 3 games. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about guys playing every night. Playing every night. That matters. That 100% matters. I care about that kind of stuff. There are people who only care about championships. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I don't care about winning an NBA championship. I don't. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that I only care about winning the NBA championship. But what I'm also not saying is that I do care about championships. But I care about the work that goes into winning it. I care about that too. And I care about what you produced to get to the championship and coming back every year and producing that. I care about that. I don't care. I can't talk about you like I talk about Jabbar when you're only playing 50 games, 52 games, and you win the NBA championship. No, you ain't in the same class as them dudes. No. If you win the NBA championship twice and you finish your career and you ain't in the top, you ain't in the 20,000 point, 10,000 rebound club, I can't talk about you like I talk about Shaq. I can't talk about you like I talk about Olajuwon because the others, you just check the box of being a champion. That's it. Now, if you check the box of being a champion, I applaud that. There's other stuff that goes into being an all-time great. How long did you do it? Did you dominate? Is your game timeless? How transcendent is your game? And showing up every night is a part of domination. Being consistent, that's a part of dominating. Yes. It 100% is a part of dominating. I'm not one of these people who buys into the idea that I'm only going to show up when it matters the most. No. I'm not only going to show up on test day or 2 days before the test and then that's it. Huh? I can't do that. And then I expect you to talk about me like you talk about Sally over here or Susan or Jerry, who I'm in the same class with, who shows up every day and is getting A's. I show up to class half the time and I did well on the test. But you want me to talk about you like I talk about Jerry, who's been here every day. And not only has he been here every day, you've actually missed tests throughout the week. But you get busy on the final exam. But throughout the week, the quizzes that we have, Jerry is knocking those down. The tests that we have throughout the course of the week, throughout the course of the school year, Jerry is destroying those. You, on the other hand, you've actually missed a couple of those. But you want me to talk about you like I talk about him. No, I will not do that. I cannot do that. That's not fit. That's not fair to the other greats. It's not. And I won't reduce them to that. You don't belong in that conversation. You don't. Now, could you be awesome if you played more? Again, he's 30 years old. If I could get 5 years of health, if I could get 5 years of health where I'm obviously not getting 75 games out of you because you already made it clear you ain't playing in back-to-backs. You already made that clear. I'm not playing in back-to-backs. Right? You've already made that clear. You're not playing in back-to-backs. So I can't expect you to have the same production because production matters. I care about that too. There's a lot of people who don't care about that sort of stuff, or they do care about it when it's convenient. I'm not one of those people. No. I think it all goes hand in hand. Production, durability, consistency, all of that goes hand in hand. I'm not just going to say that. I'm not just going to say that and only say it when it works for me. No, that ain't fair. No. And I can't talk about Joel Embiid like I talk about David Robinson, like I talk about Moses Malone, like I talk about Olajuwon, like I talk about Chamberlain. Even if he were to win it, I can't talk about him like them dudes because you winning the NBA championship, that only checks off one box. It's an important box, but it only checks off one box. And because it only checks off one box, where's the rest of it? It's like me coming to you. It's like me coming to you and I owe you $1,500. Right? I owe you $1,500. I only got 12 of it. Where's the rest of it? The difference though is of the 1,200 that I got it in all hundreds though. Okay, great. Where's the rest of it? Right? Where's the rest of it? That's what I'm asking you. I'm not asking you how you brought this. Where's the rest of the money? I need the rest of it. And the reason why, because I got other people who pay me too. And he owed me $1,500. He didn't bring me $1,450. He brought me $1,500. He owed me $1,500. He brought me $1,500. He might have brought me $1,500 in all ones, but he brought me $1,500. He brought me $1,300, but it ain't over for him yet. He still owe me more. The $1,300 that he brought, he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna hold on to this because I still owe you more. I'll give you what I owe you when it's time to pay you." He's not bringing me some of it or most of it. And when Joel Embiid tells me I don't ever see myself playing in back-to-backs ever again in my career, what does that tell me? That tells me that the consistency part of your great, the consistency part of you being great, the consistency part of you being great, it isn't there. Because I'm getting you sometime. I mean, if you think about 82 games, what's that? 60? Let's see. 8. That's like 60. I think that's 65 games. Yeah. So that's 80% of the time. So if I can't count on you to play 4 out of every 5 games, right? If I can't count on you to play, if I can't, imagine you having to come to work. You got a job and I can't count on you to come to work 4 of the 5 days out the week. I can't count on you to come to work 4 to 5 days of the week. So you're already telling me that you're going to miss a day at work. And that's fine. Okay. But I can't count on you, right? I can't count on you to at least show up 80% of the time. But when you do show up, right? But when you do show up, right? When you do show up, right around payday, I get good performances from you. I do. But you want me to talk about you in terms of being the employee of the year, being employee of the month. You want me to talk about you like the actual employee of the year, like the actual employee of the month. Right? You want me to talk about you like that, and I can't. I'm not saying I won't. I can't. Off the strength that this is what the criteria is. You got to show up to work. And not only do you have to show up to work, but you got to perform at a high level. I think Joel Embiid is one of the best players in the league, and there is no questioning his skill set. I'm on record saying, I'm not saying that I'm sort of kinda. I'm on record saying this. I think Joel Embiid is good enough to take his team to the NBA championship and win it. I think he's that good. I think he's made of glass though. And I can't count on you. I can't count on you to do that. But if you were to do it, if you were to do it, right? Let's just say for the sake of argument, you were to do it. And I get 50 games, I get 55 games, and you win the NBA championship, we're leaving out a very important part of this. And because we're leaving out a very important part of this, I can't talk about you like I talk about this dude over here. I can't do it. Nope. And I won't. Because what I'm doing now is I'm reducing what he did. And I won't do that. I can't do that. No. See, when you have a resume that stacks up to somebody else's, okay, you did this, I did this, and there's some similarities here. If the divide is your consistency because you weren't there, you're out. You're out. I can't talk about you like I talk about the rest of these dudes, because that's where the divide is. Off the strength of that right there. And that's not to take away from how awesome you are. But the fact that you haven't shown up to work consistently, that takes away from how great you are. Meanwhile, this guy has shown up to work, which enhances how great he is. Because even when he doesn't want to come to work, he here. And he's giving me work. Oh, he's giving me big time work. And I care about that. Like I said, there's a lot of people who don't. There's a lot of people who aren't in tune with the other stuff. Like winning the championship is only a part of it. Like when I talk about my criteria, when I talk about all-time greats, is your game timeless? Did you dominate? Did you win? Is your game transcendent? How impactful were you in society? When you come up with those 5 things, and I ask, okay, did you win? Check, you did that. Is your game timeless? Joel Embiid, with his game, barring injury, I think he would be great in the 90s, going up against Ewing and Joel Embiid, and going up against Ewing and Joel Embiid, Olajuwon and Shaq, David Robinson, Rick Smits. I think he'd be great in the 90s. I think he'd be great in the 80s too, going up against Jabbar, Moses Malone. I think he would have been fan. Robert Parrish. I think he would have been great during that time. So does his game translate? Yes, his game was timeless, 100%. Did he dominate? That's where it gets tricky. That's where it gets tricky. And the reason why I'm saying that's where it gets tricky is because as busy as he got, how often was it? Because consistency matters. Consistency matters. And if I got your prime years, which is like 30 to 30, okay, he's 30 years old. I think I'm only getting 3 more years of this. I do. I think I'm only getting 3 more years of this Joel Embiid. But if I'm matching up you from your prime years with the other all-time greats in their prime, and I'm not getting the same consistency, showing up to work, getting busy. Did you get busy? 100%. How often was it though? It wasn't that often. I missed out on a lot of you not being around. I missed out on a lot of that. I didn't miss out on a lot of that with this dude. Like I told you, Olajuwon got 161 games, more games played than Joel Embiid in year 8. That's 2 NBA seasons. 2 of them. 2 NBA seasons he's got on him. I think Shaq got 143 more games than him. Over 2,000 over 2,000 more rebounds. I didn't even count blocks. Buckets. If I'm not mistaken, Olajuwon at the point that he's at in year 8, he's got over 2,500. I think he's got over 2,500 more points than Joel Embiid at this point. So, like, that kind of stuff matters. It just does. It might not matter to you dudes. That stuff matters to me. It does. I care about that stuff. I've always cared about that stuff. I always will care about that stuff. So, since we're on the subject of caring about something, the Hall of Fame inductees were announced. We had that over the weekend. And if you asked me a year ago that I think Chauncey Billups was a Hall of Famer, I mean, Chauncey Billups retired. What are we in? We in 2024. So Chauncey Billups retired, what, 10 years ago? I want to say in like 2012 or 2013. I think that's when Chauncey Billups retired. And I think he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. Because actually, he's a second ballot Hall of Famer because I think it's 5 years after you retire, you're eligible. So he was a second ballot Hall of Famer. Do I think that Chauncey Billups is a Hall of Famer? I'm not going to say with 100% certainty yes, but I mean, winning the NBA championship, being an All-Pro. I think he was an All-Pro, what, 3 times? Yeah, I think Chauncey was an All-Pro 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think he was an All-Star about 4 or 5 times. He only played that 1 year at he only played that 1 year at Colorado. I don't think he played more than 1 year at Colorado. But I mean, he was elite on both sides of the ball. I do have to give that up. But how long was he elite? This goes into the logic of, you know, consistency, right? This goes into the logic of consistency. And Chauncey Billups, all intents purposes, I mean, he played 16, 17 years. Made the All-Pro team 3 times. Was an All-League defender twice. All-League defender 3 times in 17 years. That's once every 5 years. Is that elite? And again, I think we have to, if we're talking about the Hall of Fame, because again, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, right? It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame, which at some point we got to get to the bottom of that. We really do, right? I feel like at some point we have to get to the bottom of having a pro basketball hall, because we got a pro hockey Hall of Fame. We got pro football Hall of Fame. We got the baseball Hall of Fame. So we got pro football, pro basketball, and we got the hockey Hall of Fame, pro hockey. So why we don't have a pro basketball Hall of Fame instead of a basketball Hall of Fame is still beyond me. Because if it's about your pro basketball career, or is it about your overall basketball career? And in the Hall of Fame, it's about your overall basketball career more than anything, right? More than anything. It's about your overall basketball career. What did you do in high school? What did you do in college? What did you do at the pro level? And there's some guys who didn't go to college. James, Bryant, Garnett. And there's some guys who did go to college. There's some guys who went to college. There's some guys who played in the pros for a bunch of years, and all of that stuff is cumulative. Sure. But if I'm thinking about you being a Hall of Famer, particularly at the pro level, like if I'm putting you in the same category with the rest of these guys, like how do you match up? I mean, Vince Carter played 22 years, even all pro twice. That's once every decade. But I want to hear from you guys, though. I do. I do. I want to hear from you guys about what this really means. What up?
What's going on, Chilltown? Good to be with you. Yeah. I put it in the comments. NBA Hall of Fame is about feel good. It's about a pat on the back. It's about participation trophies. And it's not really related to greatness in any way, shape, or form. I'm happy my main man Spike Lee got into the Hall of Fame, as I feel that is a precursor to the New York Knicks winning the NBA championship this year. Mark it on your calendar. Okay, so we're going to come back, and Spike coming in, and I have the Knicks winning a championship in a very competitive year. But I feel like.
But wait a minute, Andre. Hold on, real quick, and I want you to keep going. But I mean, I think there's only 160, 170 guys in the 78 years history of the NBA that are in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I think that's the 2%. They're in the 98 percentile.
That's good, and we can cut it down to 70 and make it a real Hall of Fame. There's no way Michael Cooper's not a Hall of Famer. Shout out to Michael Cooper and what he means to bet. He's not a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry, and I know I'm jumping on Coop, and I don't want to be that guy, on social media, have this clip, whatever. Right. I'm happy for people. I want people to have their moment. There's a situation in the NFL with, I think it was Drew Peterson, the Cowboys wide receiver, that got into the Hall of Fame on like the 10th out of the 10th try. And it's a nice narrative on the back end when those, people that were good for their team, good for, but I'm sorry, is it the Hall of Fame or is it the Hall of Friends? Are we talking about greatness or are we talking about somebody feeling good? And I've, as a sports person, basketball specifically, I'm right. serious about this. Baseball, it has a real Hall of Fame. They mean business. And it's not just in terms of the steroid era and those guys not getting. That's what I'm talking about. They have if only one or two people reach that threshold, then guess what? We're only having one or two people get into the Hall of Fame this year, and that's it. All right, their standard and the writers and their reverence for the history of the game is for real. I think football is next after that in terms of it's not listen. And this is a Chilltown. Chilltown. New Jersey. It's your show. It's your show, Chilltown. Is Patrick Ewing a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Okay. Is John Starks a Hall of Famer?
No.
If you have to think for more than 3 seconds about that person, they're probably not a Hall of Famer. They're probably not. I'm sorry. And there's, just because, and Coop is a great example of this. He played on a team, and I'll let you get in. It's your show. Sure. Like, there's no question about Magic Johnson. You don't have to think twice. There's no question about Kareem. No thinking twice. There's no question about James Worthy. No thinking twice.
Well, wait a minute, though, Andre. So, to your point, there's no question about it. But if I think about what Coop was, right? Because again, we're talking about the Hall of Fame. What are you famous for? Because again, we're talking about basketball here. What exactly are you famous for? Michael Cooper played from 1979 to 1990. So that entire decade, what was he famous for? I'm a defender. That's what I'm famous for. And I was elite at that for the entire decade. Now, you can say that about other guys being scorers. You can say that about other guys being rebounders. You can say that about other guys being distributors. But how many guys are more famous for being defenders as Michael Cooper was during that time?
Sure. You throw Dennis Rodman in there, maybe, you know what I mean? In terms of, but that's what I'm saying.
Which would explain why Dennis got in before him.
Right. And which would explain why Dennis Rodman, in my view, is deserving to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Because he did something on the defensive side that was distinctive. You know, you're talking about leading the league in rebounds all these years, being defensive player of the year. He was not a good rebounder. He was not a double-double rebounder. He was one of the greatest rebounders of all time on the defensive side of the ball. If you want to talk about, you know, throw in like a Dikembe Mutombo in terms of his candidacy, you know, he was at the top of the list, you know, all-time blocks.
Right.
That's what a Hall of, and the NBA, it's just not, and it has nothing to do with it being the basketball versus the NBA Hall of Fame. Chilltown. I love Vlade Divac. I think Once Brothers is a cinematic classic, 30 for 30 gold.
Great show.
Okay.
Sure.
There's no way in any universe he is a Hall of Famer. There's just no way. Okay. And there's so many, and that's my thing about, you know, anytime it's not so much, and we get into, I love the conversation, you know, but a lot of times people are talking about a Lifetime Achievement Award. Michael Cooper belongs in the Lakers Hall of Fame. He's a Laker Hall of Fame.
He retired his jersey.
Great.
Yes, he did.
We can have that conversation, you know, and he's certainly in that pantheon on the second tier. He's not Jerry West. He's not Elgin Baylor. He's not Kobe Bryant. He's not Shaquille. Okay. That's the, you know, on Mount Olympus.
Cream of the crop. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can get with that. You can be one of the, you know, secondary supernatural figures.
We're not putting a statue of him outside the arena. No, he wasn't that good. No, we're not doing that. He wasn't that good. He was awesome.
My thing with the NBA, even though I love Spike Lee getting into the Hall of Fame, but that just speaks to what it is. The Hall of Fame is a marketing tool. It's about building the brand of the NBA, the cool factor, which David Stern, his vision, his genius, turning the NBA into what it is. We need stars. We need people to be able to identify with to grow the game from there. And he's 100% right. That's why NBA stars are at the top of the celebrity pyramid now, whereas you would remember in the 80s, the games were tape delayed. That's all David Stern. And so 1,000% respect for it on that end. But in terms of the Hall of Fame, I just have no time. And it's preposterous, you know, and it really dilutes. It really dilutes what the institution means.
Andre, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't appreciate fans getting in the Hall of Fame because it does lessen what we got going on here. It does. That part I will agree with. And the flip side to that is I do think that the upper echelon of players that are in the Hall of Fame, I think a lot of them are deserving. Now, there are some that are questionable. I got a problem with a guy who played 22 years, been an All-Pro twice. I got a problem with that. I do. I got a problem with a guy who played 17 years, was an All-Pro 3 times, and made the All-League defensive team twice. No, I do have a problem with that. Now, was he famous for that? Does that make him famous for that? I don't know about that. Now, Vince Carter was a fantastic college player, first-team All-American at the University of North Carolina. Got his jersey retired. So that's part of being That's part of being in the Basketball Hall of Fame. However, could he have been scored over 25,000 points in the NBA? Absolutely. Could he have been better than what he was? Yes, I think he could have been better than what he was. However, for what he did, for the time he was there, I don't think it was enough. I don't. No. I don't think he played at a high enough level. I don't. So
he didn't. But, I like Vince because of his longevity. He's like an Antonio McDyess guy. Whereas I love these guys that just, you know, this is a great life. You know what I mean? They play on after, you know, a good amount of time after their peak, but they have that longevity, you know, and they help teams. They're that OG vet in the locker room. I respect that. It shows how the game has changed. Whereas, you know, and this is, you know, the Larry Birds, Magic Johnson obviously had his personal situation. Isaiah Thomas, these real all-time greats, they only played like 10, 11 years. You could have seen, you know, if Larry had been healthy and Magic, you know, if the people had, you know, the science had caught up, that's Magic could have played 4 or 5 more years. I would have liked to have seen Isaiah Thomas play, you know, 15, 16 years. And that's why, for me, you know, John Stockton's one of my favorite players, and he's a guy, you know, I talked about, he doesn't get included enough in the all-time conversation. John Stockton played 19 years, only missed 26 games, and that's why when we, you know, all-time leader in assists, all-time leader in steals, those records are not going to be challenged.
That stuff matters.
Right.
That stuff, 100%, that stuff
so
matters.
Was he better pound for pound than Isaiah? No. Okay. But his career and what he was able to do at a consistent level for that length of a period of time, you can throw Karl Malone in there as well. Number 2, number 3 all time in scoring. You know what I mean? It's just because he had that, and that's what separates a Kareem really from the Wilts and the Bill. Bill Russell, maybe not so much because he was so dominant, but certainly from Wilt because he did it over 20 years. Back to the original part of it, NBA. As much as I respect, what you do as a league and having the WNBA and being about social justice and everything else, this foolishness with, the Hall of Fame, it's just a pat on the back and a participation trophy, and it's a feel good, type of scenario, and and then you get guys, it just. Now
I
next
understand.
thing
I do. I get it, Dre. I 100%.
Chilltown, St. Anthony's Friars, UConn starting off the year ranked. Danny Hurley is going for greatness with 3 all-time three in a row. I don't know if he can get there because we got some Chilltown. Your folks in Rutgers there. Your boys in Rutgers right now.
They got a good team. They got a really good team.
So all due respect for St. Anthony's, but I'm looking for Rutgers to make some noise as well. Thanks
all
for
right,
the time,
brother. Good to talk to you, brother. Yep. That's that should be good stuff, yo. Yo, what up?
What's up, Chill? How's it going?
What up?
Chill, do you think part of the reason why guys in today's game don't play as many games as, guys in previous decades, do you think it's because they just have so many more responsibilities offensively and defensively?
No, I don't think that.
Because, if you want to go back to, the 90s and stuff like that, and prior to that, the big man's job was predominantly just post work and post defense. It was just everything was on the post. And, nowadays, bigs are asked to do a lot more. You got to guard in space. You got to handle an offense. We got guys nowadays handling offenses like point guards used to. So I think that's putting a lot more it's taxing their bodies more. Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't. And the reason why I wouldn't agree with that is because Lajuan had to guard Ewing, and he had to guard Ewing in space. Ewing had to guard Lajuan in space. He had to guard David Robinson in space. Those guys didn't play primarily on the box. They did play on the perimeter. We had to get up and down the floor. And sure, you're dumping the ball into the post, but sure, the game was a little bit more spread out. But during that time, the big man was prevalent, and he was the go-to guy on offense. So my job defensively was paramount because I'm covering night in and night out more times than not the best player on your team, because the best player on your team was probably a big man. And the fact that I have to deal with him on a night-to-night basis, now, sure, don't get me wrong, it's not like the league had 20 Olajuwons and Dave Robinsons. No, but the fact that I had to do that, and there was more one-on-one coverage than it was anything. I think we got a lot of guys in today's game, when you talk about guarding in space, I think a lot of guys in today's game take a lot of bad shots, and they let defenses off the hook, off the strength that's what the game is today. We got a lot of guys who shoot at the 3, who shoot further out, and they shouldn't be shooting those shots.
Well, Joe, wouldn't you also agree that bigs nowadays, they have to contend a lot more with switchability? Because especially nowadays, they run a lot of pick and pop action nowadays, a lot of it. And we're not talking about in the mid range, we're talking about at the long ball line.
Sure.
So now bigs really have to it's a lot of hedging and recovering and stuff like that, things like that, that I just don't see in the 90s and 80s. Bigs, sure, they did guard in space, but it was more so in that mid range, that 14 to 16 feet away from the basket. You know what I'm saying?
I think
we're talking about 20 to 25. If somebody like Steph Curry, Chill, that's 20 to 25 feet away from the basket.
How many Steph Currys are there in the NBA? How many?
Not many, but
that's the point.
Particularly long ball shooting, 20 feet away from the basket.
And how many guys are awesome at that? And not only that, this goes back to my original logic when I talked about guys being able to play basketball. What I mean when I say play basketball, understand the fundamentals of playing basketball, getting around screens, understanding how to hedge on screens. Now, we don't have to switch. I never saw Kevin Johnson having David Robinson on him 25 feet away from the basket. Not because Kevin Johnson couldn't shoot the mid-range. Not because Kevin Johnson couldn't shoot the 3 ball. Not because Mark Price couldn't shoot out there, right? Not because John Stockton couldn't shoot, or Tim Hardaway. I mean, I can go down the line of guys who could shoot the long ball, who can absolutely space the defense. Now, sure, we don't have guys like Curry today. We don't got guys like Klay Thompson today. But having to have guys switch as much as these guys do, as opposed to getting around screens. I watch Bam. Bam can switch because I think Bam is more of a 4 and he's more athletic. But there's no reason why Brook Lopez should be switching 25 feet away from the basket. None.
He kind of has to, though.
No, he doesn't.
Like
he does not.
When you have such a floor spacing league,
shoot the ball, then. So if that's the case, if that's what you're selling
let me give you a team. What's a good example? Like the Knicks. Okay. You're gonna die on Cat wide open on threes. You're gonna die. You're gonna live with that.
Well, first of all, I'm switching a big on a big. Okay, so it's not like I'm switching a 1 and a 5.
Could be that, but there's also Jalen Brunson to contend with too. Like
I'll die on Jalen Brunson shooting the long ball all night. I'll die on that.
You'll die on that?
I will die on that. Yes, I will. I'll die on Jalen Brunson.
What's another good team? What's another team that or the C's even? The C's. You're gonna live with Drew Holiday or Derek White shooting the long ball?
I'll actually live with Drew Holiday shooting the long ball. Yes, I'll live with that. Don't forget, he had a season this season. Before this season, Drew Holiday was not awesome at the long ball line.
No, he wasn't. Like most of that 41% is because he led the league in corner 3-point percentage. He was a great corner 3-point shooter. But you're gonna live on still Drew Holiday at the long ball line?
I'll live with Drew Holiday shooting that. Yep, I will. I will.
So I got another question for you here, Chill. So anything in the preseason, Chill, that's surprising you a lot? Did you see that Knicks game?
Preseason. I watched that's the first game that I watched in its entirety. I don't really pay a lot of attention to preseason. I probably should more than I do. Like I caught a couple of nights ago. I did watch Charlotte and the Knicks. I like what I saw from this kid Salon. But for the most part, I don't really watch a lot of preseason because a lot of those guys, like what I saw last night with Cat and Anthony Edwards, like those guys don't play a lot in the preseason. A lot of the guys who play are guys who are trying to make the roster, guys like that. So I'm talking
about the whole like Dante DiVincenzo drama that was going on in the court. You see any of that, Chill?
I don't care about
that. Like at that free throw line where he was just like talking to Tibbs and all that.
Like that. I wish I could say I cared about that, Jay, but I don't. I really don't.
You really don't?
I don't.
Anything else? About that stuff. Anything else like
nope.
Nothing at all in the preseason?
Nothing. Because again, like I said, I don't really pay a lot of attention to preseason. The one guy that I did catch a little bit of, who I'm excited about, this kid Sarr. Even though I think Washington is going to be bad, but I'm going to poke my head in on a lot of Washington games this
What's
year.
So special about Sarr? I really don't get. I don't understand the hype with him. What's so special about this guy?
I think he's going to be a Rudy Gobert type of rim protector. I think he could be that good.
But better offensively or same offensively?
No, better. But in terms of a rim protector, I think he could be Rudy Gobert good. I think he could be good.
So he's gonna. So in how many years is he gonna be like best defensive player in the game? Good.
I don't know. I don't know if I can say he's the best defensive player in the game, but I definitely think he'll be in the conversation.
Right, the conversation. When's he gonna be in that conversation then?
Within 5 years. Yes.
5 years. So in about 5 years. So he's a first team. So he's an all-league defender either next season or this season.
Not next, but within 5 years, though, yes.
Within 5 years, he'll be the best defensive player. Any other rookies?
I don't know about the best, but he'll be in the conversation. No doubt about that. So,
any other?
No, not really. But
nothing.
I got to go, Jay.
Who's that?
Good to talk to you, though, brother. I got to go.
Have a good one,
Good to talk to you, though. Yep. I probably should pay more attention to the preseason, but I don't. And again, I don't because a lot of these guys, like I said, I watched the Knicks in Minnesota last night in its entirety. I turned it off in the fourth because, I mean, I felt like I had seen enough. But for the most part, when I watch the preseason, Cat, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, like those guys don't play. So it's a lot of guys trying to make the roster, guys trying to move up in the rotation, guys like that. I feel like it's more guys like that than it is preseason. So I don't really pay much attention to the preseason. So I probably should, and I will. What up?
What up, Jill? You hear me?
What's up, brother?
Yeah, man. Just quickly about the preseason point. To be preseason is like an extended warm up. Like you just watching guys just warm up for the season, see if they can get some sets in, get some breaths in. I don't really take it too seriously neither. But I wanted to kind of go to the Jordan Embiid thing. I don't know. Why did he say that? I don't know why he said that out loud. Because to me, to win with a guy who can't play back-to-back games, I don't know how many back-to-back games there is this season. I know they're trying to reduce them. But then if you can't play back-to-backs, that suggests to me that you might not be healthy. And if you're
Amari,
not healthy,
I want you to stay right there, Amari. But when I ask you, I mean, how much of a difference is a back-to-back and every other night? Because that's what the playoffs are going to be.
it's not that much different. And if you haven't even adjusted to that, because like you're basically saying that back-to-back is what, less than 24 hours, kind of.
Right.
And maybe a game in 2 nights, maybe 36 hours. But you've already told me from the beginning of the season that you're not healthy enough to play a game that you've been training for the entire summertime.
Right.
In the next 28 to 48 hours. That's not. If you said that during the season, okay, I won't be able, but to say that you won't be able to play one for the rest of your career, you're only 30. So
30
let's
years
just say,
old, that's it. In your prime, by the way, Amari. In your prime.
in your prime, which is supposed to be your physically most healthy and your physically best period of your career.
Sure.
You're telling me that you can't play a game within 24 hours of each other. I don't believe there's something wrong with Joel Embiid. Physically, there's something wrong with him. Because at this point now, he's saying this publicly. So that means for him to say this, you know how some people say, well, okay, how people talk to you in public is probably worse behind the scenes.
Yes.
This is significantly worse behind the scenes than it is publicly. For him to admit that part, there's going to be times where Joel Embiid doesn't play a stretch of maybe 2 or 3 games in a row, depending on how hard he plays one game. So if he plays 48 minutes, expect him to miss 2 games in a row.
Or 40 minutes or 35 minutes.
35. Sure. Anyway, 35 upwards, he's going to miss 2 games in a row.
I won't argue that.
How can you build a contending or build a chemistry team with that kind of player?
You can't.
It's not possible.
You can't. And on top of what you just said, Amari, on top of that, you want me to talk about him like I talk about Lajuan, like I talk about Ewing, like I talk about David Robinson, like I talk about Jabbar, right? Chamberlain, Russell, or even like modern guys like Joker. I mean, Joker has played he has yet to play less than 65 games since he came to the league. That was 8 years ago.
Exactly.
He has yet to play less than that. He's played on average 70 games, 70 plus games on average.
I mean, if you look at it as well, you can go to a smaller level. You look at schools. What's the one thing that schools always require you to do? Just to be there. I don't even need you to participate in the class. I just need you to be there. I need you to be there consistently, at least on the court, for me to get some chemistry. And you just need to come. Because to me, I don't understand how the Philadelphia 76ers expect to build a contending team around a guy who physically is breaking down at the seams, is getting worse every season, to be honest. I think he played 61 games last season, something like that, Joe Embiid?
Played 43 games last year.
He played, okay, so even worse than I thought. I was probably trying to give him the benefit of that. He played 41, he played 40-something games last season.
And so, now, Maury, and now to your point, so now you're telling me, in addition to playing only 43 games last year, now you're telling me I can't work in back-to-back nights. I can't do that. I probably won't do that for the rest of my career.
How long would that be? If you're the Sixers, how long does this continue? Because it's not working. It's not working. It's not. You're telling me that you're
valid question. What he's talking about, folks. This is a valid question. It is. How long can we do this?
It's not possible. Because again, remember, you already have a designated amount of games you're missing. So let's say this says 10 back-to-backs in the season. That's 10 games off the 82 regular season, plus your injuries.
So possibly 72 games you can play. Now, don't forget now, Amari, we're also talking about you have to play at minimum 65 games in order to qualify for being an all-league performer on any level. You have to play 65 games. So like you just said, if we got, I don't know, let's say we got 10 back-to-backs. Okay, we got 10 back-to-backs. All right, so that's of those 10 back-to-backs we got. So I'm only possibly going to play 72 games. Okay, that leaves me 7 games of the 65, right? That leaves me a window of 7 games to miss. And you already mentioned about the injuries. So where are we now?
Nowhere, because he only played 41 games last season. Because that means, let's just say from that total, you say 72 games. That means he already missed 21 of those games in that kind of span. So out of the available 71 games he can play, he missed 22 of them. Missed 21 of them.
So now we back to 52 games. That's what we're doing now.
Around about that amount. Who can win like this? And the 76ers don't have the talent on that team to say that they can sustain Joel Embiid not missing that many kind of games. And like you said, you can't put him in conversations with the Wilts and the Jokic's because he's never there. He's never there. He's never around. How can anybody build chemistry with him? It's the reason why 76ers offenses always look disjointed, because he's never there. You get used to not playing with him. And again, if Tyrese Maxey gets to a point in the season where Joel Embiid's only played 15 games in the next 30, he's going to get used to having the ball. He's going to ultimately forget to pass to Joel Embiid in the post. It's going to happen. It's the same thing that happened with Shaq and Kobe. When Kobe got used to Shaq not being there because Shaq has injured foot, has an injured leg. All of these things, you get used to them not being there. So if you're 76ers, there has to be a conversation of saying that this has failed and it's not going to work. You've got PG there, and PG is not the greatest player performer in the world. So and he's injury prone, and PG's made out of glass. So you've got three of your main guys on your team are both guys who have missed majorities of the seasons in the last 2 years.
Right.
Hey, good luck, Philly fans. I'll just leave it there, chill, but take it easy for the night, man.
Good to talk to you, brother. You know where to find me at.
Even.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds ridiculous. It just does. So, since we're on the subject of sounding off, it's about that time for me, guys. It was good to see you tonight. You know what time it is. You know where to find me, right? If I'm not here, Monday to Friday, I'm on TikTok, 9 a.m. If I'm not there, you can find me on a panel from 11 to 2. I'm here weeknights on Chilltown Hoops and also on the Sports Fluent Network. You can find me on Tuesday nights with my man Tony Tone right here and on the Sports Fluent Network. We have some really good content. If I'm not there, if you can't find me with me and Tone, I'm here weeknights, Wednesday, Thursday, some Fridays. And then if I'm not there on Saturdays, 12 o'clock Eastern, you can find me with my man Big Ox on the Players Choice Network. We do Chill with Chill. So I'm not hard to find, guys. I'm not. I will see you guys soon. It was good to see you. But until then, put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. Last time you talked to your mother, my mother's birthday was yesterday. I just talked to my mother. Call your mother. I will talk to you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it. Absolutely.